Welcome back to the show, or to the show if this is the first thing you're watching or listening to. I am one of your co-hosts, Zach, with
Natalie.
And we are here to yap about a game.
Again, some more. Unless you haven't listened to the other episodes, or this is the first episode and it's just we get to yap some.
Yep. Kind of what we do.
Yeah, if this is not your thing, you may not enjoy the rest of this show.
Yes. Anyways, before we get so off track that we spend half an hour yapping about what we do instead of what we're actually trying to yap about, today we are here to talk about Genshin Impact, specifically, though there isn't another one, as far as I know.
Yes.
And in this episode, we're not talking too much about the story or the deep lore or anything of that, because if we're going to do that, that'd be many multi-episode journeys. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Dear.
And this is just an introduction more than anything.
With a little bit of extra stuff, but mostly introduction.
It's mostly our thoughts on the game without getting too much into the story.
Well, I don't know how much we'll get into the story, but
we might give our opinions in general on the story.
Yeah, I'll give you that. So, basically that means this episode probably won't have any spoilers in it for the game. Except for, like, the beginning, which
you see in the first 5 minutes of the game, unless you stick around on the character selection screen for half an hour.
Or hours. Mm-hmm. Because you forgot about it or something.
Or you're plagued by crippling indecisiveness.
Yes. Or you just don't play the game, and you just want to listen to us yap about it instead.
Yes. Yep.
But then you wouldn't really care about spoilers. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, where do you think we should start?
Well, maybe we should start with what kind of game it is.
Okay, fair enough.
It is it is technically on the computer, on the phone, on PlayStation, and the Xbox now. And it is an open world fantasy game.
With a bit of sci-fi, but mostly fantasy.
Well, it is mostly fantasy. You only really feel the sci-fi when you learn a bit extra that comes in the story.
Well, and then there's things that are robots from the very beginning.
Yes, but I don't know technically in this context how much that makes it sci-fi, but sci-fi and fantasy, they kind of go together and so forth. But anyways, it is mostly fantasy game with a little bit of sci-fi in it.
Yep. It is also what, and this might be a deal breaker for some people, a gacha game.
But it's actually a somewhat friendly gacha game. Well, if your luck is not terrible. If your luck is terrible, then any gacha game is going to be terrible.
Yeah. Or if you're picky about who or what you pull for.
Yes. Or if you don't understand gacha games, then you're just like, let me pull on this with all the polls that I saved up, and you get not the characters you want. You go, why didn't I get that character? That's because you pulled on the standard banner rather than the character banner.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, other than it being open world, fantasy, slight sci-fi gotcha game,
This title for this game is getting longer.
it is also actually multiplayer, unless you're going through the main story. That's always single player. But you can go and do stuff with other people. And probably one of the most interesting thing for me in the game, other than the story, the elemental reaction system.
Yeah, they made that uh, rather robust for what it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Yeah, and also at least has some mm, some basis in actual science.
Well, except Dendro.
There's at least some basis for it.
Uh, homing bombs?
Not the homing bombs, the exploding. Yes.
Okay, I'll give you that. But you can do homing bombs, essentially.
And I mean, they're the actual homing and exploding of the hyperbloom reaction less so, but the growing very quickly due to electricity. There is some basis for that, though nowhere near as quick as actually in the game, and also small amounts of electricity.
Mm. But, anyways, there is a reaction system, and it's not too complicated, besides getting into Dendro, which is a little bit more complicated, which is, as you guessed it, plants.
Yes, and all the reactions pretty much come down to essentially when you put two different elements on an enemy, and for the most part, you put the second element on and it does extra damage in some fashion or debilitates them.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to that since some of them damage enemies around them and,
Yes.
and things of that sort. And then some reactions actually make them take more damage from specific elements.
Yes. Or not exactly elements, but just hitting them.
Mm-hmm. While we could and go really deep into the reaction system, um, we have other things we want to get to, so we'll probably do that in a later episode
Hopefully.
when we get there.
You guys can always remind us. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Anyways, I guess it might be time to talk about the main character.
The protagonist?
Yes.
Okay.
Since they might be important to the story.
No. I don't think they're ever important to the story whatsoever.
Yeah. But, anyways, at the very start of the game, you start in the sky with two characters fighting another character. These two characters look very similar, like they might even be related.
I'm sorry. Do we need the dramatic retelling?
Yes.
Okay, continue on.
And as this fight goes on, you eventually reach a point where the game explicitly tells you to choose the brother or the sister. This is choosing which character will be your protagonist.
Yes.
And which character will appear in a different role throughout the story that we'll get into later.
Yes.
Now, assuming you're not, you don't have crippling indecisiveness, yes, this choice should go pretty quickly. Now, picking what name you want to go with is a different matter. That that's a lot more choices.
Yes.
So I can understand if you spend 20 minutes it's typing out player one or something along those lines.
Of course, that's what you're going to be called the whole entire time you're playing. Well, not that the voice when they actually say it, but it'll be in the subtitles. Player 1.
Yes.
Miss Player 1 or Mr. Player 1.
Yep. But once you choose who you're going to play through the game as, you get encased in cubes. And magically, time passes. A lot of time.
And you fish out a Paimon.
Who will act as your guide and, for the most part, your voice.
Yes.
Paimon does a lot of speaking for you.
Yes.
Yeah. But she's basically with you throughout the entire game.
Yes.
So, interestingly, a lot of the characters' names, especially of some of the more important characters, their names actually come from somewhere. Alright. For example, Paimon, as well as a group of other characters that will get into the story of them later, are known as the Archons. All their names come from
Solomon's Keys, I believe.
yeah, Solomon's, all the demons from the, is that one the Goetia?
I think so. I would really have to look it up, which I can't easily do right this minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but in English, that's where all those names come from.
Well, Paimon is actually Paimon in other languages. Because right now I have my game set to Japanese and they say Paimon.
Hmm.
So Paimon is Paimon.
Yeah. And on the topic of names, the names of your protagonists, basically the names they have if well, the name you come across if you don't choose is that protagonist when they appear later in the story, the name they have. Um, the sister is named Lumine, while the brother is named Ether or Aether. I can never remember how you actually pronounce it.
I believe technically it's supposed to be Ether, even though it's a AE, which I always kind of go Aether, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and this is in English.
Yes. But in most of the languages we've seen, the sister's name is related to light in some fashion,
Mm-hmm.
while the brother's name is related to the sky, or I guess either could be the sky or the air, technically.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. which I don't know how much impact that has on the story other than they're from the sky, technically, but it's interesting.
I don't know. I mean, maybe at the end of this story, it'll come in to play and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that's why they're named this.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know that yet because we're
Yep.
not to the end of the story yet.
No, the story's still ongoing.
Yes. By the way, this will be an ongoing show with.
Yeah, and yeah, an ongoing series within the show.
Yes. If you couldn't tell already.
Yes, especially since there's a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Anyways, um, I guess anything else we want to talk about with etymology and names of things?
The only thing I was going to say is like the first land you
Hmm.
get to, basically.
Ah, yes, the prologue tutorial area.
Yes.
Uh, the name of that land, as well as the name of their city, is Mondstadt, which, if I remember by German correctly, is something along the lines of Moon City.
Yes, I did actually look that up. It's Moon City, basically. Which is still a little weird, interesting.
Yeah,
Since it is literally the land that is encompassing what wind means.
yeah,
So it's like they named their city land Mondstadt. Okay.
yes, and where we're currently at in the story should be interesting to see if it has any connection to that, since the
Eh,
moons are important to that.
yeah, yeah,
But no idea.
yes. And we're not getting into that yet.
No.
Um, but yeah. As you can probably tell, Mondstadt is sort of inspired by Germany and their architecture and so forth and so forth. Not
Yes.
quite their fashion. They
Mm,
don't have lederhosen.
well, that's very stereotypical German.
Yes, yes, it is. But
Not everyone in Germany wears lederhosen.
I know. But if you're going to base a fantasy game in Germany, it's almost like a requirement to have lederhosen.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, they don't have lederhosen. I'm not too upset by that.
Yeah. And it is, segueing off of that, it
Mm,
is pretty interesting to see that each of the countries are uh, within the game are based off of either a real world country or group of people or something of that sort.
yeah.
And honestly, seeing what they do with that.
Mm. Which basically connected to that is that I do know some people don't really or didn't really like the newer sections that were based off of other people's other cultures and stuff
Mm-hmm.
for one reason or another.
Yeah, but along with that, that also often including some of the local mythology and folklore and such.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, I mean, for example, over in the land based off of Japan, Inazuma, you get yokai.
Mm, yeah. Whereas you don't get that other places.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also Socrates are very important to that land.
Yes.
There's also that.
Um, but anyways, I lost my thought.
I noticed.
I had something and it just disappeared.
Into the ether.
No, I'm not going there.
Okay. Um, I guess anything else we wanted to talk about with the country specifically, considering we're not going into great in depth detail about them.
Well, are we getting into anything more about like um how each country the peoples of the country all have distinct looks too?
Mm, we can
What
certainly get
they're
into that.
um and there is some color coding,
Mm, yeah,
a
some
little.
some people are color coded based off of their element. Some people have a palette of colors based off of the fashion of the country or area they're from.
Mm-hmm. Um.
And then you actually have characters whose fashion is representative of a very specific group of people within the country that country is based off of. For example, we have Lanyan with all her
Oh yeah,
silver ornamentation.
yeah. I don't remember what the ethnic group that she's
Off,
based of. Ugh.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I know it's one in China, and I've seen it before, but I'm like drawing a blank on who they are right now.
Yeah,
We'll get back to you on that.
yeah. Because the only thing coming to mind, I'm not sure about, so and I'd rather not spread misinformation.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and then of course the people over in Fontaine have lots of frills
Yes, frills there, frills here.
and fancy looking French fashion.
Uh, older French
Mm,
fashion,
mm-hmm.
basically. I don't know exactly what era of French fashion, but
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
I am not one to ask about fashion.
What? You're not up on all your fashion history?
No, no. I can just tell you, oh, that's French, that's Japanese, that's Chinese, that's Korean, that's Indian, that is
Yeah.
Northern Indian slash uh, Middle Eastern, Pakistan, Iran, so forth.
Yeah, you're more interested in the history of the countries than their fashion,
I tend to be yes.
as well as mythology.
Yes.
Mm, I think that's most everything we wanted to cover about the countries, unless there's more
Mm,
detail you wanted to go into.
no, I don't think I had any more detail on that, so.
Okie dokie. Mm, anything we're missing?
Mm, oh, just sort of talk about what we're actually going to talk about in later episodes,
Oh,
like artifacts and
yeah.
so forth.
Well, I mean, the one of the main things we're going to talk about is we're going to actually talk about the story of the game in greater detail than we have here, since we haven't really talked about the story here.
Are we actually going to talk about the story, or just sort of the implications of some of the story?
Hmm, I'd be up for talking about the story.
Well, I
And probably talking about when pertinent to some of the theories we had at the time, or things of that sort.
Well, I only ask because like if someone actually is going through the game, then they're going to go through the story. So if we're kind of just rehashing the story, or
Mm-hmm. Um.
are we gonna do like a very brief overview of the story and then talk about this is what the theories we had at the time. This is
Yeah. Probably an overview of the story, and then go over theories we had at the time, or later on what certain things are referencing back to.
okay. So not really go over the story bit by bit, but just like this happened, and then we ended up here.
Um, and then part of that would be piecing together the history of Tevat.
Okay.
Um, and mm, perhaps more interestingly, we're going to be going over item descriptions,
Because there is actually a lot of lore in item descriptions, weapons especially.
especially the signature weapons of different characters
Uh,
and
yes.
various other 5-star weapons.
Well, you get from as long as they're not the 3 stars. If you get 4 stars, they have a decent
Mm,
chunk of lore
mm-hmm.
attached to
Yeah.
them.
Um, and then we'll probably also be going over the stories of specific characters and
Especially characters that we have, which we each have different characters for the
mm,
most part.
yep. Though we'll have to decide whether we'll keep it to the characters we actually have or go over characters we don't have.
I think starting out is characters we have and then branch out to characters we
Mm,
don't have. Because I would like to point out between both of us we have a good chunk of characters.
yes, we probably have the majority of the characters, though we're missing some of the characters that came out earlier on.
Yes. But yeah, between both of us we have a good starting point.
Yeah, which that'll include their story actually on the character screen, as well as if they have a character story quest.
Attached to them, so
Yeah, and if and would probably include if they have a signature weapon, and we have that signature weapon.
uh so me got it.
Well, I guess we could go over the signature weapon of the character, even if we don't have it, just since it could be important to their story.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I have more of the characters
Mm-hmm.
weapons of the characters I have. Plus one I don't have. Well, actually two I don't have, technically.
Yeah. Um, and then, I mean, artifact sets.
Well, I mean, yes, because some of them actually are tied into story that you got in an event. And it's like, oh, we already had this story.
Yeah.
You just had to find it.
Where some of them are about characters that are vitally important to certain parts of the story.
Yep, yep. But when you're farming for artifacts, you don't read the artifact information. Beyond, did I get the right stat? No. Okay, you're going away then.
You're going in the trash.
You're fodder for my other artifacts.
Yes. Anything else?
I can't think of anything without going into things we weren't going to talk about now. Oh, I know what.
Chests.
Oh. Yes, chess. Random chess. Except in ruins. We're pretty sure they don't do it in ruins.
Yes. But, at least according to information in one chain of quests, all the way over in Fontaine, as far as I know. I don't know if it's mentioned anywhere else.
Why do I get the feeling that it was mentioned in the very, very, very beginning?
I don't know. It's been forever since I've been there.
I know, but I want to say I think they somewhat mentioned in the I'm not entirely sure, but go
But,
ahead.
anyways, according to that, the chests and puzzles you find out in the world are all set up by the Adventurers Guild.
Which your protagonist is a part of
Yeah.
since the beginning of the story, because this is how you end up traveling.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, part of the reason they do it is to help train their adventurers for example, exploring the ruins and things of that sort.
Yeah.
Which the puzzles and such in the ruins are not set up by them. But that random chest that's 100 yards away from another chest and puzzles in between are set up by the Adventurers Guild.
Yep.
Though I do doubt that they set up, for example, the hordes of enemies guarding the chest.
I actually don't know, because the lock symbol that goes around the chest, someone actually potentially figured out what it said, and it's what Catherine tells you in the beginning.
Hmm.
So I do not know. They might, or maybe what they do is they put the lock chest in where they know enemies are.
Who knows?
I don't know. So
Who knows? This show is mostly at least half off the cuffs, so if you want to get into nitty gritty details, this is probably not the right show.
well, this is all about amateurs going in and saying this is what we did and figured out and our theories of.
And this is what we think.
Yes. The end.
Yes.
And if that's not your thing, then you might not want to listen to us.
Yeah, since the most change we're probably going to do to the show based off of input is potentially what we talk about and editing. How we do the show, probably not so much.
Oh, yes, because we actually have to have fun talking to a microphone.
Yeah.
And if we're pulling okay, we're going to go through every little thing, detail by detail, it's not going to be fun for us.
And we don't really like reading off of a script either.
Not unless we're actually reading a story script.
Well, yeah.
But that's a different thing.
And we can do dramatic readings and such, but as I demonstrated at the beginning.
Yes. We heard your dramatic reading.
I know.
Was it reading?
No, that wasn't reading. That was just dramatic telling. But that's besides the point.
Okay.
Anyways, I think we've covered pretty much everything we wanted to.
I think so.
So,
at least for the first episode.
Well, yeah, since this, again, is basically an introduction. Anyways, this brings us to the end of the show. We welcome you to listen to other episodes we have. But that's up to you. Goodbye.
What he means to say is, thank you for listening. We will see you next time. Goodbye.